In the year 1859, the Pacific Northwest was a powder keg waiting for a spark. The San Juan Islands sat in the murky grey waters between British Columbia and the Washington Territory. For years, the border was a guess. The British claimed the boundary was in the Strait of Haro. The Americans insisted it was the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Neither side would blink. On this remote island, settlers lived in a limbo of law, hoping their harvests would be enough to ignore the politics of empires. Peace on the frontier is fragile, and sometimes war doesn't start with a speech or a manifesto. It starts with a garden. Lyman Mulvey was a rough American miner turned farmer. He worked hard, and he loved his garden. But trouble was trotting towards him on 4 trotters. A pig, owned by the Hudson's Bay Company and tended by Robert Piggott, had wandered into Mulvey's crops. The pig was chewing on turnips. Mulvey chased it. The pig ran back. Mulvey got angry. In a moment of frontier frustration, Lyman Mulvey grabbed his flintlock rifle. He didn't just shoot the animal away. He put a bullet through it. What followed wasn't just a dispute over damages. It was the spark that ignited a global crisis. Robert Piggott was furious. To him, this wasn't just a pig. It was property of the Hudson's Bay Company. He marched to Mulvey's cabin and demanded $100 for the dead animal. Mulvey, being Mulvey, laughed. He offered $10. Negotiations collapsed. Piggott took his grievance to Richard Clement Moody, the chief commissioner of the Hudson's Bay Company. Moody saw this as an insult to British sovereignty. He didn't send a lawyer. He called the Royal Marines. 4 ships arrived off the coast of San Juan. The world held its breath. The British weren't the only ones posturing. Charles Griffin, the American military commander, was a man who hated the British with a passion. He didn't want a war over a pig, but he wasn't about to let the British bully Americans. Griffin called for reinforcements. The USS San Jacinto steamed into the harbor, followed by 66 American Marines under Captain James Shepherd. Now, on a small strip of the island, 1,200 American troops faced 2,100 British soldiers and 83 cannons. It was a standoff. One wrong move, and the Pacific would turn red. The tension was suffocating. Snipers were whispered about. A single shot could trigger a war that might consume the continent. Captain Shepherd told his men to aim for the hearts of the enemy. The British prepared their cannons. The air was thick with fear and the smell of gunpowder. But amidst this brinkmanship, something strange happened. No shots were fired. The soldiers stared at each other, waiting for a command that didn't come. It was a stalemate born of absurdity. A war over a pig, and everyone knew it was ridiculous, yet no one dared to blink first. Washington panicked. They sent the hero of the War of 1812, General Winfield Scott, to cool the situation down. Scott arrived with one message: to be a gentleman is to fight when you have to, but to be a statesman is to know when not to. He met with British Governor James Douglas. The 2 men realized the absurdity. If war broke out, it would be a disaster for both nations. Scott ordered the Americans to withdraw to a defensive line. The tension broke. The diplomats took over. The pig had done its job. For the next 13 years, the San Juan Islands were in joint occupation. It was the strangest military alliance in history. American and British soldiers shared the same campgrounds. They played cricket together. They drank whiskey together. Rumor has it the dead pig was actually roasted and shared for a meal, though no one would admit it. The war was won, not by cannons, but by common sense and a bottle of rum. The Pig War was a war without victims, except perhaps the pig. Finally, in 1872, the dispute was settled not by war, but by arbitration. Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany was asked to decide. He looked at a map, made a mistake, and declared the islands American. "By God, it is an island," he reportedly said. The US got the San Juans. Britain got mainland BC. The Pig War ended. It remains a reminder that in history, the biggest threats can sometimes be diffused by the smallest absurdities. The pig may be dead from the history, but its legacy is immortal. Do like and subscribe us for more interesting facts.